getting knocked into the lower bracket. Last 2 times these teams have met in playoffs, season finals last year and obviously in winter playoffs, it has been G2 who have come out on top. For Fnatic, it is a bounce-back game if they have ever needed one. The question is, how much damage did the end of Game 3 do to them as a team? How much damage did it do mentally? They're going to ban out the Draven and the Blitzcrank on the blue side once again. G2 removing the Yone. We had a quick chat about some of the power picks left available. We haven't seen Maokai, we haven't seen Sejuani, we haven't seen Kai'Sa yet as well, who we saw banned out in Game 1.
For me, like the only really strong laning AD carry that's left in the pool is like Misfortune.
Sure.
Maybe Caitlyn as well. But for me, like maybe with these bans, Fnatic wants to go into that kind of champion. I'm not sure. Going into this first pick, I was thinking Sejuani is really powerful and Jace up and available. Very high prio across the world globally, but maybe not between these 2 teams in particular.
For me, it's less about the AD carry and more about the supports. Because Leona is probably the best engaged support that you have left, unless I'm missing one.
No, I think it's Leona.
If you count Neeko or not, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Neeko. But I would expect that to be banned by G2 right now, unless they think that there's not an AD carry that would complement it super well. But I sit there and think like Ezreal is still available. I
mean, MF Neeko's a strong lane as well.
Like there's Kai'Sa, which I think is fallen all the way through as well. Like Neeko Kai'Sa is a possibility. The Neeko has been left out.
There we go.
Yeah,
you get it.
So I think that the Fnatic have been quite eager to get their hands on the champion, and now they're finally going to get to do that. And I think that there's enough of an AD carry pool for them to play through to get them a strong bot lane 2 versus 2. The question is, what will G2 respond with? I remember Labrov's Thresh from Winter didn't quite hit the way that we wanted it to. So then what direction could he possibly go? Like, because you don't really want to pick Braum into the Neeko.
I think, as you said, maybe Leona is your only option here right now. Unless you want to go for something really spicy like a Pyke. I think Leona is your best bet if you want an engaged support. Otherwise, yeah, it becomes pretty difficult finding a kind of clutch pick like that.
I wouldn't mind Leona Kai'Sa because what it allows you to do is stun the backline and Kai'Sa jumps over the Pot Blossom, right? You get past that engage. There's the Leona. So it will be locked in for Labrov. Played it 3 times this split, has won 2 of those games. Obviously the Neeko can still be flexed, but...
Maybe just do Jhin?
You could do Jhin, you could do Misfortune, Ezreal, even Caitlyn. I think you have a lot of options here as upset. You can kind of dig into your pool. You don't actually need to pick your AD carry here, even just because how many options there are.
I was just about to say Tristana as well. Like, obviously a bit more of an unconventional AD carry, but it's flexible. So you can lock it in now. You can maybe lock in your jungler.
Maybe Zyra would come out now.
Yeah, potentially.
If you actually wanted AP jungler and AD mid combo, then Zyra would make the most sense.
Isn't the problem with Zyra here that Mundo just gets locked into it immediately?
It is true if you think Mundo is a problem. I mean, I know some teams won't think that, and some teams will, but the Sejuani is way more standard. As we said, one of the core picks in the jungle, being up and available in this draft will be taken by Fnatic.
Okay, so where will G2 go? Jungle is the most obvious choice to make sure that pool doesn't pinch too far. We've already seen Shin, Pantheon, Skarner, Vi, Wukong, and Poppy locked in.
Maybe Sylas would be nasty with the Sejuani ult and the ult. I'm just looking at the ultimates, thinking about the champions that Caps likes, but Ambessa will be picked up, I imagine, for Broken Blade in the top lane, which is a champion we haven't really seen him play that much.
It's not just a Renekton, isn't this a great Renekton angle?
I mean, it could be a Renekton angle, but Broken Blade hasn't played the Ambessa at all this split, so it is really interesting to see it locked in here for G2. You can ban out the Renekton as well if you're worried about it.
Or even Jace. Would you prefer a Jace or a Renekton here for...
Oh, Renekton is way more annoying for Ambessa. I think the Jace, while it's annoying early game, the lockdown you have with the jungle later is way easier. I think Jace, Renekton, and maybe some other really skirmish-heavy bruiser could be taken out, but I imagine they're gonna give one ban towards the mid.
What jungle? Like, do you just ban Mundo, Zyra? Maybe Lilia? I think Lilia is a possibility against SkewMond specifically. Yeah, Ivern I think is fine. The only issue I have with Ivern is it kind of goes against what you want to do.
Yeah, you kind of want dive. Is what I was thinking about. It's like Ivern doesn't really do that with
Warwick.
Okay.
Warwick ban makes sense. It's really telling that Ambessa was stopped. I was thinking maybe it's a Cap special where he takes the Ambessa, but with the Renekton ban coming out, with the Warwick ban coming out, every sign points towards this being a top lane champion, and they're gonna have to pair it with any jungler that kind of makes sense. Here, so many junglers being out, you kind of have to dig deep into your jungle pool. Trundle is a
it's
classic.
so good, yes.
So good into the Sejuani when she has that passive on, and you leech away all of those stats from her. You can actually get her into negative armor. Camille and Orianna, the options here for Fnatic. So Oscar's going to be cracking out the Camille. And we have Orianna for Humanoid in the mid
lane. Do you
lane.
just slam a Silas here?
I think you need to pick an AP champion that kind of does well into Orianna, so I think Silas is fine. You could do...
I was thinking Aurora or Galio.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have enough dive to warrant the Galio. Sure, the Camille is there, but the other team is so high range. But it is the Galio being picked, so really good call out by you. I think the Galio pick kind of does make sense if the matchup is fine. But you really need to make sure the Galio and the Trundle plays together. Because this Galio doesn't have a lot of setup, but he has a lot of anti-dive.
Well, I guess the idea would be Ambessa ult, Galio ult.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's not the best, but Ambessa, Leona, then maybe the Galio on top.
Yeah. The thing with Ambessa is that she doesn't teleport immediately when she ults. Like, she ult, lock them down, and then teleport. So Galio can't actually ult you until kind of after the stun is gonna run out.
But that's where the Leona would come in, ideally, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a lot then, though, for a single person.
Yeah. But I like the pick. I think Caps did a really good Galio game against Casey in Paris, and I really want to see how we can make this champion work, because, I mean, they're a bit low damage on the magic side, but they do have the Kaiser to kind of compensate, so kind of well-rounded comp all in all.
I mean, I think I love the Trundle into the Sejuani. I think that Fnatic's composition is very team-fighty, so I want to know your thoughts on Camille into this comp. Like, how do you think it fits alongside what seems to be a very standard front-to-back from Fnatic?
I mean, the thing is, Camille won't really be able to dive that deep in the fights, but where Camille can thrive this game is on the side lane.
Right.
But you really need to make sure this Camille has a good laning phase, because against Ambessa, it's not an easy matchup. Anytime the Camille goes for the sweep, Ambessa can just W forward with the shield and kind of trade into you. So it becomes actually, in individual, like in the isolation, this matchup is not that good, but together with the Sejuani, that's where you really start finding those fights.
Let's jump into it. Game 4 between G2 and Fnatic. Last time they played a best of 5, it was 3-1 G2 in Montpellier at the end of last year. Was that Montpellier? It was, right? Was it?
Wasn't it Munich?
Munich. There we go. Montpellier was the year before. So everything got kind of blends into one at some points for Fnatic. A game 3 to be forgotten. The question is, how quickly can they reset and get into this game 4? They have a relatively traditional draft. Tank jungler, Orianna, mid lane mage, AD carry that does good damage if it left alone in a team fight, and a top lane who can dive onto the backline.
So, if you want a bit of a, I don't know, I don't want to call it a history lesson, but Hans Sama traditionally wasn't much of a Kai'Sa player. I mean, this year I think he's evolved so much. Like the Ezreal, the Kai'Sa, they've become staples of his pool now. But traditionally, you always associated him with being this hyper-aggressive AD carry, Kalista, Draven, basically Misfortune, stuff that would kill you in lane was kind of his go-to. In contrast, Humanoid Orianna, we might not see it much now, but it used to be one of his staples. Yeah. It was something that many teams actually feared about giving him. And I think that's one of the coolest things that we've seen with the introduction of Fearless, is that now here in Game 4, with a lot of champions removed, we're seeing some old classics, but also we're seeing players forced into developing their pool to have way more options as we get deeper and deeper into the draft. And with a Trundle coming out, I mean, back when we cast you, Finn, like this was the jungle counter matchup thing, right? Sejuani, Poppy, Trundle was just the trio of junglers for a while.
Every single time, yeah. And as someone that actually, I love the point you made about Hans Sama, because as someone that actually played with him back in 2020, I remember every single draft meeting would be, oh, Hans Sama wants the strongest laning AD carry. And we would just shape the entire draft to make sure Hans Sama had the winning lane AD carry. And I think that season we got first in regular split because it always worked. We were always happy when he had the laning AD carry, and the fact that he's now so comfortable playing this Kai'Sa, I think it just amazes me so much how far he's come. He's won a title, he's grown so much, and he's just such a force to be reckoned with right now as an AD carry in Europe, and I'm really excited to see how he piloted this game.
Oscar winning out the early trades in the top lane on that Camille. Last time he won on this pick was back in 2024 at MSI against Top Esports. A really good game on the day. It has been a while since we've seen him bring it out, though.
Yeah, you did mention, Finn, the idea is that you use that shield to mitigate the harassment from the poke, but it feels like that Oscarinin is just kind of walking up and abusing the long cooldowns, so just hitting him in the face with the Q and kind of out-straining in and getting those quicker, shorter trades.
Yeah, and I feel like it's, I mean, the fact that Broken Blade went Doran's Shield against Doran's Blade makes those early trades a lot weaker for the Ambessa. And I think he's more in the mindset that, okay, I don't want to trade early because we're going to lose 2v2 against Sejuani. And he really wants to get that level 7, level 9 power spike for Ambessa, where she gets those low CDs on the Qs, so she can get multiple rotations off in one fight. Because right now, it's just one rotation of cooldowns every single trade against Camille, and because of the shield and the healing, she's winning out of that.
Can we also just talk about how Caps just keeps getting CS leads against Humanoid? I think he's done it in every game. Game 3 was the only one where the Annie really fell behind in the matchup, but aside from that, Caps has been, in terms of laning phase, he's been on a tear today.
SkewMond looking to burn Humanoid's flash and will do so. Puts down the pillar. It's a soda bottle, I think. Is this Esports fan Trundle?
Esports fan Trundle. It's the first time I see this skin in my life. It's really cool.
Gets the flash out of Humanoid, which makes that Orianna obviously a lot more susceptible to future ganks. Camps flashing forward, landing the taunt, landing the Justice Punch. There's so many options for Humanoid to die if G2 want to continue to focus that mid lane.
Yeah, and I think they should. I think that is their place right now where they're strongest. See Oscarinin trading in. He has a Ruby Crystal advantage over Broken Blade, but Broken Blade is going to opt in for the base here on a pretty annoying wave. He's probably going to lose a little bit of the bases, so he decides to stay.
You try and get this in, but you can see Razork's just around the corner, right? He's on Gromp right now. Broken Blade has enough vision to spot Razork, but it might be too late as Oscarinin goes in, gets that adaptive defensive shield, looking for more damage on the Broken Blade, who jumps back in with a repudiation. Manages to trade relatively effectively. Oscarinin is still sitting on a cookie, so we'll be able to heal up in the middle of a fight. SkewMond on his way towards top right now, actually leaving his wolves to get all the way up here and make sure that Broken Blade can crash the wave. The flash away from Broken Blade as Oscarinin looks. This is a bad position for Oscarinin. He needs 4 minions, 3 more maybe to get that level 6. Flashes away from the public execution, but SkewMond comes across, and there's first blood to G2.
I mean, nicely done on the dive in the top lane. Broken Blade, he kind of won that war of attrition. He managed to out-trade Oscarinin in a lot of the short fights. And you talked about getting those extra levels, the additional cooldown really paying off for Broken Blade after getting level 6 and securing first blood for G2.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised Fnatic doesn't really invest more into this top lane matchup, because Broken Blade traded like that because he knew his jungler was coming. But meanwhile, Oscar traded that, but Razork is going the other side of the map.
Fnatic don't know that Labrov is behind them. Now they do. Humanoid's used the shockwave. Labrov needs to get his way out of here. Does still have the flash, has the aftershock as well for a little bit extra tankiness. Drake goes over to Razork. Tangle Barbs will connect. Labrov. Mickey! He made his hitbox smaller by becoming a minion and dodges the Zenith Blade. He also can't hit a minion with a Zenith Blade.
I think he should have taken the hit. I think Humanoid would have just killed him. I did not agree with that re-engage from Labrov, but specifically because he just used his W. Now Handsummer's the one in a bit of danger.
Has to flash away from Razork, goes in with the Arctic Assault. But yeah, a bit greedy there from Handsummer. Obviously didn't want the wave to be frozen right in front of him, but he is against a Tristana who will naturally counter-freeze, unfreeze waves. That's the word I was looking for.
Counter-freeze.
Thaw them out, Betty.
No, counter-freeze. Yeah, no, that's that is the scientific term, yes.
The more you mock me, the more I'm going to mill you with mine the next time we play Magic, man.
Broken Blades, I mean, he's just comfortably winning out on these trades now. The pickaxe doing a ton of work, and look at those cooldowns.
But still, doesn't really matter. Oscar really struggling in this match, and as Labrov shows up, probably will be the kill.
Hexagol made him trying to get away, but the Shield of Daybreak will be enough for the stun. And there's Broken Blade's second of the game.
I mean, you talked about it, Finn, in the draft. You wanted to see Fnatic invest in this top side. You brought it up again after pathing towards the bot side of the map. And now it's G2 doing exactly what you wanted Fnatic to do, making sure that this Camille does not get ahead.
But that's the problem with this matchup, is that Camille in isolation will not beat Ambessa, but Camille together with Sejuani, especially before Trundle has his ultimate, are way stronger in the 2v2. So unless you capitalize on this, it doesn't really make sense to pick something like the Camille, because that means Ambessa would just scale up, get her Eclipse for free, and then it becomes really difficult for Camille, because then she can't contest until she has like 2 items or something, and that is really far into the game.
Broken Blade gets the plate about 1,000 gold ahead in that top lane matchup now. SkewMond just bodyguarding Razork here, making sure that he can't step any further. Has to Arctic Assault away. The grubs are up, and that's where SkewMond wants to play. Does do them very quickly, obviously, with that frozen domain, and the chomp can gobble up these grubs. And very healthily as well, because of the King's Tribute. Whenever an enemy dies near him, he gets health back, so we'll never fall low doing grubs.
Was it Zanzara that advocated for the W max?
Yeah, he liked the healing. Zanzara, famous for his Trundle and his Sejuani. No, Skarner, what I'm saying.
Yeah. I remember him flashing over Dragon Pit walls to try and steal buffs quicker. It was a lot of fun watching Zanzara. And there are the grubs. The Glacial Prison going out onto Labrov. He doesn't have a flash and he doesn't have a hope of surviving. Razork gets Fnatic ticking over in game 4.
So at the very least, Fnatic get themselves on the kill boards. They would have preferred to have that kill over to Upset, but at the very least getting that kill is something. Grubs exchanged for the Dragon, and Oscar still finds himself in a very difficult lane matchup. That Eclipse item grows ever closer for Broken Blades. Meanwhile, Caps, he's now the target for Fnatic.
Oscar wins a war down. Justice Punch buffered really well. Through the shockwave, gets the range away. Manages to walk out. Well buffered there from Caps to escape the pop loss.
Of course, it looked very awkward because Mickey, he thought that the shockwave would interrupt and then his ulti would connect, but unfortunately for him, Caps was still able to disengage and he walks away with his life.
Yeah, still very worried about this top lane matchup. This Ambessa, when she gets that Eclipse, she will be able to take any single fight that she wants into this Camille. And that's going to be a massive hole of pressure in the side of Fnatic. Labrov finds the clone, gets the stop on Mikyx recall, so he'll take that. But in general, now she's gonna get that, and we're gonna see Oscarinin get really punished for this Camille pick now when Broken Blade comes back.
I will say, kind of how game 3 started. Broken Blade getting a lead in the top lane. It was only when we got towards level 6, really, that the Fnatic bot lane began to really open up the game. So for Fnatic, shouldn't be too worried yet. Mickey flashing away here, will land Tango Bombs onto SkewMond. Able to walk away for the moment. Labrov, though, might be collapsed on as Razork and Upset him on their way across. Solar Flare goes wide. Labrov in the permafrost, taken out by Humanoid.
So a bit of an overstay there from G2, but the collapse from Fnatic was solid. Ultimately, it's unlikely to result in anything significant because there's not really much on the map for them to play for. No Dragon, it will be spawning in about 20 seconds time, but we're seeing in the top lane matchup, I stand corrected, they're setting their sights on Caps.
Underneath the tower here, Glacial Prison is going to connect. There's the shockwave as well, and Caps is just clapped by Fnatic.
Oh, and Mickey loves this little trick where you do a tower dive and it becomes the cannon minion. And because of the cannon minion has that increased protection from tower shots, he can tank a lot of them back to back to back. And the tower dives is so easy because of that. Really well played, really good understanding of Neeko mechanics, and really nice play by Fnatic.
G2 will be able to secure the Drake, knowing that Fnatic had to back away after getting that kill towards the bottom side, but it will be a Drake apiece, 3 grubs to G2. So they've had a slight advantage on these early neutrals, but nothing too consequential. A 700 gold lead now for Humanoid in the mid lane, who already has his Archangel stacking up towards that Seraph's. Not Hex. What's it called? Heartsteel. That's the one. I was going to say Heartseeker, but it's Viego. What about Heartsteel complete for Razork as well? He's in a good spot. Hollow Radiance on Caps and a Triforce now for SkewMond. Very strong on this Trundle, especially if he's meeting up into the Sejuani. He can steal away those stats with the Subjugate. Labrov and Mickey on the top side of the map.
I'm trying to think if this build is normal for the Trundle. I don't think I've seen Triforce Trundle in the jungle for a long time. Usually you see the tanky builds for the Trundle, but I really like this Trinity Force. It's going to be very strong in dueling, but also he will be quite squishy now. If that Arctic Prison collides with him, then he might get one-shots.
Razork able to get away across the wall. Solar Flare coming down. Pop Blossom will land a 3-man knocker, but Mickey's already dead. Upset trying to join the phase. He'll jump across towards Broken Blade, who flashes over the wall towards Gromp. Humanoid coming in from the side as well, as Broken Blade needs his team to defend him, but with the shotgun pulling him back, Labrov follows suit. Good blast cone away from SkewMond to get himself to safety, but Fnatic went out on the fight on the top side.
Great punish by Fnatic. They go way too deep here, and they get 2 kills on the bounce back here. Really good catch, really nice rotation by Upset, giving that mid wave and being ready to go for this fight. They read the play and they punish appropriately. Sure, Caps will get 2 plays here, but in general, I think Fnatic is happy with his little breath of fresh air and gust of release.
They certainly are. G2 will want to stick to the plan of continuing to put Oscarinin behind. So setting their sights in the top lane with Hans Sama on the way as well. They realize that Mikyx overstepped. He doesn't have a way to get out of this, and they think, great, we found ourselves a pick, maybe we can even get more. But now Upset arrives, and crucially, Humanoid arrives as well. The Shockwave is going to connect onto 2, and that makes it easy for the return response from Fnatic. And as you rightly said, the only options for G2 in that position is to cross map with Caps, sieging onto that bot tier 1.
Had a quick look through some solo queue Trundle builds at least. SkewMond always goes for this Triforce. Triforce into Unending Despair, Spirit Visage, Thornmail tends to be where he goes. A lot of people are still building the Triforce. Some Sundered Skies into Spirit Visage, Dead Man's Plate. So that tanky build does still remain a possibility.
It also just, this build melts through towers.
I was just going to say, with the grubs, this Trundle, if he ever gets a big tempo lead and can just hit the tower for like 15 seconds, he will destroy any structure that stands in his way.
Caps trying to survive here with a shielded around, but it's Hans Sama who's locked up in the Hextale Ultimatum. Humanoid will take down the bot lane tower while this is happening, so Fnatic find a tower, find a kill, and they're looking for a little bit more. Justice Pun's away from the Glacial Prison. They won't be able to take down this full tower in mid. Importantly, G2 didn't continue to push out the top side, so they're not knocking on that tier 2 yet.
What I think is interesting about the map state now is that, Finn, I'm sure you found yourself in this position before where it might seem bad, but because your team is successfully cross-mapping, it now actually provides you with a lot of space. So Camille can now actually be given a lot of freedom, and Fnatic, if they're smart about how they play fights, it's very easy for Oscar to come back in the game the same way that Hans did in the previous game. Just utilizing the open map, catching safe farm, and progressively returning back into the game.
I mean, it's the same way Oscar did in the previous game as well. Like, he was 1,500 goal behind and managed to get back about 1,500 in the lead.
I mean, a general rule of thumb is that if you have one lane that's just bleeding constantly in a 1v1 scenario, you want to make the map smaller. You want to turn the 3-lane map into a 2-lane map. So anytime you play the map on 2 lanes, anytime the enemy goes to hit the tower on one side, you hit it on the other side.
Yeah.
So therefore you're always trading at least equally, while your top laner or AD carrier that's suffering in a 1v1 is not bleeding gold every single wave. That matchup remains the same.
My general rule when one of my lanes is struggling if I'm playing jungle is dip the inters, but apparently there's a slightly different mentality as Caps is caught out. SkewMond is here to help him. He'll pop the blast cone for Caps to get him over towards where the wolves usually sit. They'll escape. Caps did have to burn his flash. The shockwave was used by Humanoid, but that will be back up relatively shortly.
But ultimately, this is the good news for Oscar, is that they find themselves in a similar position where the rest of the team is doing very well. Of course, the last time, that was a flash in from Labrov. Flash response for Mikyx.
Look for the solar flare, didn't quite get it. SkewMond chasing forward, gets the pillar of ice down, but no real follow-up from the rest of G2. After Labrov has used his engaged tools, it becomes a little bit trickier for them to actually find a way to get into a fight.
G2 just went 5 people to mid lane, but there wasn't really anything to fight for. So Fnatic was just like chilling there, hitting the wave, and just kind of looking at them. Caps was there, Broken was there, but the objectives didn't spawn for 30 seconds. So now Fnatic, while G2 has to return to their side lanes, now they start objective because they already used that move that they worked so hard to get.
Well, Drake is up in a second's time. Be the second of the game for either of the two teams. Rift Herald will be secured for Fnatic. You can see SkewMond making his way down towards that dragon right now. It's a Chem Soul, similarly to game 2. SkewMond was spotted on vision. There's a ward in the bush next to where the wolves are for Fnatic. So if Fnatic do want to fight this, which it looks like they do with Razork coming across, SkewMond has to back away. Caps also needs to retreat, doesn't have enough vision in that river to really give himself adequate safety.
Yeah, I think this Camille just really wants to kind of stay by herself for a bit longer. You see him just doing the Gromp, he doesn't even walk close to Ambessa. So if Fnatic wants to fight, it has to be either when the Camille is coming from a weird angle or just preferably without her at all.
Oh, Shockwave onto 2, that's TP immediately from Broken Blade. Labrov dives in with the Zenith Blade, but has to walk away. Fnatic now have Broken Blade in the midst of them. Good stun from Labrov. Humanoid will be able to kill him off though. Meanwhile, on the top side of the fight, Broken Blade has to retreat. Has to go to made him into the public execution. Broken Blade low. Hero's entrance out as Oscar falls. But so far, 2 for 1 for Fnatic. Razork continues to chase. Upset jumping forward, looking for a little bit more, but can't find SkewMond to get that damage down. Fnatic find 2 out of the fight.
What a crazy exchange. As you rightly said, Medic, a small advantage gain for Fnatic, but crucially, the Dragon is going to be available. They extend the gold lead ever so slightly more. And it was just a really nice opportunity that was found by Humanoid, connecting the Shockwave onto 2, converting it into the combo from Mikyx. And I love what Labrov did, realizing that, hey, if I go in, I actually create space for my team. There's no point in us trying to both run away together. And you'll see as the Shockwave comes through, Labrov makes the snap decision, you know what, I'm just going to go in, and then he becomes the focus, allowing G2 to try and escape.
Yeah, I think they were just a little bit too disjointed there once again. I think if Hansama is there and Caps can actually like go for an aggressive play there and go in and actually have some damage to follow up, that would be decent. But because they were just 3 people and the people were Leona, Trundle, Galio, they just don't really have the ability to take any fights because they don't have any damage to actually lock down people and kill them.
I will say Humanoid doing what he's done pretty consistently throughout this series is, okay, he doesn't have the best laning phase into Caps, but the moment he gets out, he farms up very well in the side lanes, and I mean, he's 198 CS at 19 minutes into the game. He has a 2k gold lead, going for the
Bloodletter's Curse, second item here as well, to get through those tankier members, get that magic resist down.
But you did say that this was bugged,
yes,
right?
Bloodletter's Curse is bugged right now, and it only works on single targets. But I guess his logic is that he will be hitting the Galio a lot if he goes to the side lane or anyone, and he just wants to reduce the magic of that. I don't think it's a great choice on something like Orianna, because Bloodletter's Curse kind of wants you to have multiple instances of magic damage in quick, rapid succession. And to me, Orianna is like Q, W, R.
Like you're gonna just avoid stuff.
Yeah, and then you already did all your damage, so reducing their MR after that doesn't really make sense.
Can you check the Clockwork Wind-Up for me, Vedi, the passive of Orianna? Because I'm pretty sure that does magic damage as well.
That is true, yeah.
So that's a one more, you know, if you're weaving in auto attacks, that's another application of magic damage, right?
It's true, but also like the problem is you're using all your bursts
before you do the auto attacks. I understand it. Obviously, whether or not it's the most effective item, it's the item that he's decided to go for into a lot of tanky opponents who are going to build magic resist.
And crucially, it makes you tankier. It gives you that 400 health that really can help you survive a dive from an Ambessa, for example. So I think that is why he really went for it, because that 400 extra health really can help him stay alive if there's an Ambessa and Kai'Sa diving onto him.
And 2 items as well complete for Upset. Has that Navori Flicker Blades and the Yuntal's Wind Arrows. But G2 behind the pace of the game in terms of itemization. Only Broken Blade has finished his second and isn't dominating the lane in the way that he did at the start. Mostly because he doesn't really get to play in the 1v1 too much. Humanoid caught out with the public execution. Riptail down, Glacial Prison lands the stun onto Broken Blade. His hero's entrance as well as Humanoid's able to flash away. Meanwhile, Solar Flare on towards Mikyx. He flashes over the wall as well to escape. Oscarinin continues to push out, doesn't have the TP. G2 won't play for the other gun. Fnatic will get out. Pretty damaged, but relatively unscathed.
I feel like that was a misclick from Razork, because as he was on his way to assist Humanoid,
putting the Herald down?
Immediately put the Herald down.
So some people I've seen recently are doing it deliberately at the start of a fight to give people a way out. So it's maybe Humanoid, if you can get here, you can ride the Rift Herald out of the fight.
It's an escape car.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
getaway
completely valid. That's a very valid point. For Humanoid, he didn't need it. He had a really good shockwave, and the Sejuani ultimate came through. He generated enough movement speed from his phase rush to actually run away to safety. It was Mikyx who was the one that was actually in most danger. The CC came through from Labrov, and he was forced to flash away, so that engage tool is going to be unavailable. Both teams, though, find themselves relatively even overall. It's just G2 would love to complete those second items before they find themselves in another fight, because right now there is that slight damage discrepancy that exists between the two lineups.
We'll say that Kai'Sa has went for the on-hit kind of full AD carry build. She went for the Yuntal into now the Infinity Edge. So that means those Void Seekers aren't going to be as potent. There's not going to be as much poke damage coming from this Kai'Sa. And crucially, there isn't going to be as much magic damage on the team of G2. All your magic damage right now is in the Trundle Subjugate and that Galio. And I guess Kai'Sa has a little bit of magic damage in her kit, but in general, they're pretty heavy in the AD armor department.
Yeah. Very much agree with that, Finn. Fnatic still with a small lead. 1,000 gold at this point, nothing to write home about, but they have got 2 Drakes. They are setting up well towards this top side as well. Next Dragon spawning in a minute's time. They are ahead in terms of itemization. Humanoid still with his flash and a Seeker's arm guard alongside it. So
I will say, like, I'm really worried about how much damage this Orianna is actually going to do.
As a full tank.
Like, this is...
We'll see. I think he's going to do more than we expect.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let me put it in context. For where he's at in the game.
Yeah, if he'd gone rabid on Storm Surge, he'd probably do a little bit more.
Yeah, probably.
But into full match.
I mean, I would have either preferred a Crypt Bloom or a if a Crypt Bloom or a Void Stand.
I just picked two random high.
Sure.
Right? Like.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'll hold judgment until we actually have the fight come through. For now, Fnatic set their sights on an outer tower. There's not much to cross-map for Broken Blade because the tower's already been taken. This will be Fnatic's third of the game. And so we draw ever closer to the respawn of the dragon. It's G2 that will have prio over this wave. Fnatic can afford to just concede it, especially if they have low priority on this Chem Dragon.
Glacial Prison gonna land here. TP coming out from Broken Blade immediately. SkewMond looking for the trade back in, and Razork melts! That's a subjugation if I've ever seen one. Broken Blade looking for a little bit more. It's Mikyx going in for that flank pop. Blossom only onto two, and onto two tanks at that. The public execution onto Humanoid on the back line. Mikyx's already dead. Humanoid uses the stopwatch and uses the flash to escape. Explosive shot on SkewMond. Hexagon Momentum going back onto Broken Blade as Oscarinin tries to trade back in. Broken Blade flashes out. Someone on the front line now has the flash as well. Upset flashes forward. Doesn't quite get the resets. Can't quite get the damage down. G2 walk away with 2.
For a second, I thought we were in Sweden. But Upset, he ran out of mana, so he didn't have the rocket jump to really follow up and secure any kills. This is why Trundle is so good into Sejuani. Like, it was such a perfect demonstration of how she goes from being this massive front line into paper thin.
This is Trundle propaganda in action. Aftershock and the passive before the subjugate is popped, and now she just gets shredded. I imagine she was going down to like -10 or maybe 20 armor there. I don't know the exact stat, but she was very, very squishy and a fake tank if I ever saw one.
And then Mikyx with the engage as well. The problem is that there's just not enough follow-up. The shockwave does come through. It does decent damage, but it doesn't really put anyone in kill range. And now all of the hope rests on Upset's shoulders. And his damage is good, but it's at this point, notice he runs out of mana. He flashes in to try and get at least one kill, so maybe he can convert it into something else. But the blinking health bars from G2 walk away with all 5 members alive.
It looks so juicy, you know, you have the
Mikyx does have the flash about to come off cooldown, but doesn't have it in time. Caught out with the Solar Flare. Labrov now on the wrong side of the wall, but he can knock back with that Mega Blast Cone. Caps has the TP. He's in the bot lane right now. Honeyfruit's for Labrov. There's an Artican and a Baron, and SkewMond wants the bigger prize.
And I love that we're seeing Trundle come back, because I think this game really highlights the strength of this champion. Those pillars have caught so many people off guard. The Humanoid level 3, and now the Mikyx again, and the Subjugate. I really love this pick by SkewMond, and he also shreds this Baron so fast.
Razork has so much to get in here. The shockwave hits onto Labrov, but somehow still standing. Razork will take him. The Baron resets. Importantly here for Fnatic. SkewMond jumped on the Winds of War. Taunt not enough from Caps as Razork goes back in. Dash away from Broken Blade. Oscarinin looking for that hook shot wall dive. No tower here to save Caps, as Fnatic can now turn their attentions towards the Baron.
And I think they should. SkewMond is desperately trying to heal up. He will have a smite available to try and flash in and steal it, but I don't know if they'll even try.
BB has the TP, but nowhere really to go apart from that top lane tri-bush. SkewMond has the flash. They have no vision in the pit right now. SkewMond puts a pillar down. Won't get in range to flash. Fnatic secure the prize.
And it's G2 that starts it, but Fnatic that gets it. Artican is still up and available. Ambessa TP is still down. It's actually a visual bug. She doesn't have it. But here the pick onto Mikyx was really nice. But I think they maybe overestimated how much damage they actually did, because the Baron didn't go down as fast as it could, or they wanted, and they didn't really turn properly as well. Here we have 2 options. Either you finish it or you turn. But I feel like G2 did something kind of in between. Labrov steps out to try to turn, but the Ambessa ult doesn't connect, and Razork lives for so long, so he's actually able to flash out.
Humanoid connecting that shockwave also, I think, made G2 very indecisive.
Oh, Razork caught out here. In the midst of 5 members of G2, he tries to step forward, public execution onto Humanoid as well, who has no flash. Hans Summer dives in with the killer instinct and dodges the shockwave. He orders the minions though. There's the hero's entrance coming out. Hans Summer rooted for the moment as Mikyx landed a good pop. Blossom back in, but the Zenith played onto him. Labrov's still alive. Upset opening up with the big guns, looking for those resets. Oscarinin on the flank. Humanoid, Upset, and Oscar feel they can take this 3v5. Oscar with a tactical sweep, G2 with a tactical retreat, and they'll get out with 2 kills.
Oh, and Fnatic looks like they really want to chase it, but in the end they know no, they can't because of all the CC. Really good pick onto Razork there, and the public execution onto Humanoid really makes all of Fnatic kind of defend to help him. But the fact is that Mikyx ult, while it looked nice, didn't really do any damage.
I just feel that Humanoid doesn't do any damage. Like, Broken Blade, how much magic resistance does he have right now? He's at 59 MR. He got hit by a shockwave, and it did, what, like 200, 300 damage to him? I feel like he needs more damage for these fights to be more Fnatic favored.
I mean, even including his Dark Seal, every single item Humanoid has bought is a defensive item, technically. Yeah. They all either have some kind of defensive stat or component to them. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about the Bloodlust Curse, as I said. I think the interaction just doesn't really favor Orianna's kit. And I would love to have seen a Void Step there instead.
And then also, it basically just puts all the responsibility on Upset. If he is not free hitting, then I just feel like Fnatic's composition doesn't have damage. And in the front to back, as we've seen multiple times now, G2 win every time. SkewMond means that Razork doesn't have a front line, and he's got a 2-level lead over Razork now.
Yeah. And crucially now, Broken that has picked up the Cerulea's Grudge, and when he gets level 16 and Cerulea's Grudge, because of how much armor pen you get from the Ambessa ult passive, he will just shred anyone that gets into his face. So I really, really worry for Fnatic, and I really think they need to find those key ultimates from Mikyx and Razork to lock down one person really fast.
Credit to Fnatic for getting Oscarinin back in the game, though. He's only 400 gold behind in that top lane, has 2 items complete with the Merc Treads as well. 3 items on Humanoid, 3 items on Upset. Like, if Upset does get the time to free hit, he is going to absolutely melt through G2.
Look at Razork,
Pillar down.
No, it's Mikyx. Look at Mikyx on... Oh, never mind. What's a W? I'm getting baited.
Oh, Glacial Prison going through the uprights. G2 will use that as their opportunity to gain control of the river. There's the ball. Command attack in the middle of them. They walk to the side of it. Judiciously, you have to feel. It's all a game of cat and mouse, of baiting in, of playing around vision. Broken Blade gets a slow on Razork with the Solar Flare, only gets a clip onto the edge of the Sejuani. Drake down to 9,000. Mikyx with the Pop Blossom landed onto 4. Oscarinin diving in as well, but there's public execution on the backline with the Hero's Entrance following up. Unsummer dives on, and Razork goes down. So does Upset, and G2 have found the fight they've been looking for all series long. SkewMond, though, will die to Humanoid, trying to chase a little bit too far. Mikyx trying to escape here as well, but he's still got quite a health bar to work with. Caps on the flank. It looks like it will just be the Dragon for G2. Is Mikyx gonna look for more? There's double TP.
I mean, what options does he really have? The Dragon's gonna go down. I mean, Mikyx, he's in enemy territory, and I do not think that there is any way that he can escape to. That's going to be another kill over to G2, who in these team fights just seem to be having a much easier time. Even though the ulti goes wide, it was a good engage from Mikyx, but it doesn't quite pan.
Yeah, eyes are broken mid here. Threads the needle, lands the public execution on the Upset, together with the Kai'Sa and the Galio. It all culminates with a massive execution assassination on the Upset, and he can't out-attack. Your friend Tristana can't land a single out-attack in his team fight, and you actually don't have any damage left. This is the problem when one of your carriers itemizes fully defensive. If you just focus down the other person, it's hard for Humanoid to really carry that burden. Usually, if all of G2 would dive that Tristana, the Orianna would be so powerful to kind of clean up the fights.
I also think that G2's composition, it's a very fast engage from multiple angles. Leona, the Trundle, the Ambessa. Oh, hang on, Caps.
Caps the one being engaged on right now. Permafrost needs one more auto. Shockwave will cat him back. There's the stun follow-up. Oscarinin coming across the wall. The Zhonya's used by Caps. TP coming in from Broken Blade as well as G2 look to save their mid laner and will do so. Still have yet to crack this mid lane tier 1.
They get the TP out from Broken Blade, so at least a small advantage gained along with the flash. Caps in we didn't quite get to see the setup, so he was in a very awkward position. Ultimately, though, it doesn't really result in a huge amount. This goal difference, I feel like it's very deceptive. Fnatic is not in the lead right now. All of it is basically sitting on Humanoid, and with a 3.7k gold leads, like, if you look in the context of the map, SkewMond is just way stronger than that of Razork. He's a super effective front line. He's built up more than enough resistances now to be able to at least weather the initial engage that will come through. And I feel like Fnatic need to turn their attention to side lanes, leverage Oscar trying to find picks to create a numbers advantage, and G2 are just limiting his options.
and just look at the inventory of G2. Mercury Threads, Mercury Threads, Mercury Threads, Mercury Threads. They know that the way they lose teamfights is by getting locked down by these big CC ultimates of the Mikyx and the Razork. And I think the really nice itemization, they're really showing that they understand that they really need to kind of get out of these chains early or they will just get fallen.
Hans Summer's cleanse. It shows us up on the HUD, but I'm pretty sure it has about 20 seconds left before it will come off cooldown. G2 waiting for it. Looking for the engage, perhaps, as Mickey's hit with the Soul of Flare. Public execution for the follow-up. Mickey chunked out a little bit, but no real damage coming out from the rest of G2. They'll use a couple of ultimates for it, and we'll be able to walk away through the frozen domain. Caps was in the area in case the hero was needed to enter the fray, but unrequired for the moment.
It does seem like Oscarinin is constantly pushing out bot lane though. It seems like he actually has control.
They're starting Baron.
I mean, Upstack and Razork doing it. No real vision here for G2. Now with the control ward in the pit, they will see that this has been begun. Broken Blade looking for Humanoid. Upset takes his attention away from the Baron and instead towards the members of G2. Mickey looking for that flank, has the control ward behind the pit here, and they need to spot him out. Pop Blossom onto two heroes. Entrance coming out as well, and there's no real follow-up from the Pop Blossom. Oscarinin dived in with Hexagon Domain, but he's dived into his demise as G2 find one. Fnatic peel off the Baron and try and get away with their lives, and they'll manage to do so. Razork on the wrong side of the wall, but he escapes. Mickey sending a clone in to spot G2 on the Baron, and once again this game, the team that starts the Baron does not secure it.
I mean, that felt so indecisive from Fnatic. When Mickey ulted, to me, that was their avenue to finish the Baron. That's what they wanted to use it for. And then they turned to fight. And the moment the Galio ultimate arrived, they then immediately disengage from the fight and they leave Oscar just out to dry.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with their comp right now is that even if Mikyx lands a great ult, they don't really have the tools to follow up on that. So they kind of need to kind of change how they view that Neeko ult. And as you rightfully said, I think it was a great ult by Mickey if they wanted to get that Baron, but now I really feel like maybe Oscar went in too deep and they could have just re-engaged together in their jungle. But the fact that they went in so deep now, it just turned into a disaster.
Yeah, it's also, Pop Blossom came in when the Baron was at 7,000 HP. Like, it doesn't buy you that much time often, right? Maybe
if it keeps Trundle out, yeah, it's kind of enough.
It's possible
so much
that you could have done it quickly enough. Yeah.
But I get your point. It's really, it's always going to be a split call to make in the situations, and especially when the pressure is on right now, that's when these mistakes happen. This is when you make those small errors in judgment, and I think right now Fnatic made a crucial one.
G2 setting up towards this Drake will be sold for them. Up in 8 seconds time. Fnatic trying to gain control over that mid lane wave, but G2 have control over the river. A spot in the winners match on the line. Possibility of a ticket not only to the finals but to MSI as the public execution goes on to Humanoid. There's the hero's entrance to follow up, and Broken Blade able to dodge away for the moment, but Mickey, Razork and Humanoid all able to escape. Upset untouched, unscathed so far in this fight. Mickey dies to the Void Seeker. Oscar on the chase onto SkewMond as well. Might continue to go in. Upset jumping forward. Caps on the prop looking for the flank themselves. Justice punch away. Upset still has his ultimate, has flash, has cleanse. There's all the tools at his disposal to really turn around a team fight. TP towards the bot side from Caps.
G2's just dancing around Fnatic right now. Razork, he's looking, he goes in.
He goes in as soon as he sees Caps flying across his head. Broken Blade though kills off Razork, and Hans Summer cleans up the rest. He'll find 3. G2 with the Baron buff, but looking not at the Drake, but at the Nexus.
And it's G2 that comes out on top in this series. They constantly find these late game teamfights, game after game. They just show that individually they weave around these zones of control and they just use their spells in a better way than Fnatic.
A 10-1-5 performance from Hans Summer. The carry comes up clutch once more as they set their sights on the Nexus.
It's a tale as old as time. You can change the words, but you can't change the story. G2 defeat Fnatic.
You gotta be really critical if you're Fnatic right now. You gotta feel really bad about this, because I think they really came in and expected to do better. But there is a lower bracket run. Their season doesn't end here, and they still need to bounce back, because we know Fnatic is a team that can be at their very best, but right now they just haven't really found their footing against G2.
This is also why G2 as an organization always get given the benefit of the doubt, because when playoffs rolls around, their players step up. And while their solo laners received so much criticism during the regular season, they popped off in today's series. And I mean, Labrov, I think overall had a fantastic series that so many members really stepped up individually. When the cohesion in game one seemed off, in the rest of the series, they really did step up.